Hello there, and welcome to the Stirred Up Podcast. I'm your host, Nikisha K, and this will be our season 2 opener. So excited to have my girlfriend, my prayer partner, my partner in crime, my volleyball mom friend, who I didn't want her to be my friend, and now we friends. I am so glad to have her here with us today on the Stirred Up Podcast, and I'm going to let her introduce herself. And once she does that, we'll come back and talk about our episode for today. Our episode, you are going to love it, so stay tuned. As my guest, introduce herself.
Hello. I am Keturah Nolan, and I'm so glad to be here with my friend. She's given all the titles. And so I am a native of Birmingham, Alabama. I was born in Mobile, but been in Birmingham all my life. I am a mother, a daughter, a sister, a friend, prayer partner, and a fiance.
Hey, she's a fiance. And that is part of the reason we are so excited to have her here on the podcast. However, today, our topic for today is the empty nest and what's next. So many times as single moms, Keturah and I met when our daughters were in the 9th grade. My daughter's going to a new school. Shout out to all the jackets in from Jacket Land.
Yes.
Over in McCalla, Alabama. And our girls just kind of took to each other. They were friends. The girls fell out.
But we didn't fall out.
We didn't fall out. And we told them that y'all could be, we don't care if you're friends or not. We're going to be friends. So we have established a friendship and I admire her. She's a boss. She runs business. She takes care of business. She takes care of everybody in her surroundings, in her family, her friend group. She's our positive Patty. If I need a positive word and I'm not feeling my most positive, I'm gonna find Keturah. But most of all, she's been a single mom. And she has navigated that space with grace and elegance and a tenacity that is admirable. And that I would venture to say that if I had to talk about my single mom friend, she would be at the top of my list. Because I've watched her with her daughter and my daughter, because she became her other baby, be a mom. Just be a mom on steroids, okay? From one to the other, our girls play volleyball, and Keturah was dragging me along, y'all. She was dragging me along because I was like kicking and screaming. Okay, don't give me no jobs. Tell me what you need me to do. Don't tell nobody to come ask me for nothing. I ain't got no money. I ain't doing none of that. Tell me how to help you. And that's all I'm going to do. And I'm going to be here to support the kids. But we found ourselves in a strange place. And that was from mom from 0 to 18. And 3 years after the girls met, it's senior year.
Yeah.
And we're doing senior projects.
Yes.
And
midnight
projects so the girls can have crowns for volleyball because they're the queens of the court.
Yes.
And
yes.
then we found ourselves by ourselves.
We did.
Found ourselves by ourselves. And so this episode today is dedicated to single moms and dads, if you come across this podcast, to the empty nester and what's next. Because when we have children, we're not thinking about the end. Most of the time, we are so busy in the middle of the raising and the rearing and the teaching and training and making sure you brush your teeth and wash your face and teaching them how to be good humans if you're doing it right.
Volleyball shoes
And tournaments and
all the things,
bows and missing jerseys and everything that you can think about. Imagine it just being you. And our girls play volleyball year round for 4 years, probably 5 years straight.
Probably 6 years.
Probably from middle school all the way to senior year. They played volleyball pretty much year round. So from August to July, pretty much, we were doing volleyball. And it was consuming. And so we're going to talk about what happens when the nest is empty? And part of what we're going to talk about, just starting out our podcast, is the acknowledgement that when the nest is empty, we go through all kinds of things.
Sure.
We go through all kinds of things, and we're just going to start with real simple question, and it is, how have you experienced transition to an empty nest? How was that transition being? And I must say that, to caveat this, start while she gets her question ready, both of our girls graduated from college now.
Right.
So we're coming to you from the other end
Yes.
of the empty nest and the what's next, because this is not at the beginning.
Yeah.
And just like every wonderful story, it has a beginning, it has a middle, and it has an end. And it doesn't end with graduation, but that's the big thing, getting them to that finish point. And so, my friend, I want to know, how have you experienced transition? What was that like when, at the beginning, like the getting ready and the now she is gone?
Yes. Oh goodness, we just got started and I want to cry. Oh,
And it's okay, because this is a crying zone, because every mother who does it right and who does it well and who puts their all into it is gonna have some emotion with their baby. It's your baby.
Yes, yes.
It's your baby, and your baby is going off into this mean, cruel world.
Ooh.
And one of the biggest things is, have I given her enough?
Oh my goodness.
Did I give her enough? So I'm gonna let you talk, because I've been jabbering on along. So
thank you, friend. Well, again, I'm just so excited to be here, and I may shed a tear because we've just gone through a lot now. Since you've been following my good friend, you know that her daughter is a single child. She's an only child.
Only. Mm-hmm.
My child is an only child as well. So that's part of that bond, and that's part of that as well. So we share a really special bond. So Nikisha, I'm going to take us all the way back. Just thinking about when thought I prepared Sydney for going to college. I was excited but scared. I was going to do all these things. I was going to hang out. I was going to find my husband. I was going to hang out with my girls, take trips and do things like that. And I found myself home alone on my sofa, crying. My daughter she played additional year in college, and so she went to Memphis. So, there was mixed emotions about Memphis. People was like, it was a good move and it was a scary move, and so I was on my sofa while my daughter was in Memphis, trying to figure out what's the next steps. And I did all those things that you said. Did I teach her to take up for herself? Did I teach her to be bold? She gonna make sure she brush her teeth and take her bath. She was a girly girl, but she was also an athlete, and she'd rather have on volleyball shorts, sweatshirts,
and socks.
And slides. So, I thought
yes.
all those things, and she's gonna be okay, and are they gonna like her, and she gonna like them, and she's gonna make friends. Is there other adults around her gonna be positive? Because I worked so hard to make sure she was around positive energy women like Nikisha and Kaya and Granny and all these women. And so I just found myself on the sofa crying, trying to figure out what to do next. I couldn't make it to all her games. I still knew I was going to support her, but I was alone. I went from being Sydney's mom. I went from being the volleyball mom, because like Nikisha said, hey, we're going to do a project and we're going to be in the know and we're going to be there. Mm-hmm. I went to being, the church mom for Sydney, to just trying to figure out what to do. I mean, like she said, I was a boss at work, but I couldn't even concentrate on work. What was Sydney doing? And just, so I was just there on the sofa crying, Nikisha, trying to figure out what's next. So from, that's where I started.
And then the thing is, we plan and we've gotten them ready, but nobody talks about us being ready. Us being ready and what the next chapter of life looks like. What it looks like for us, and the emotion, and talking about the emotion that surprised me the most in being a single mom was lonely.
Yes, that's good.
Yeah. And I hear so many people who are saying, I can't wait till they grow up. I can't wait till they get out of my house. I knew it was going to happen. I was preparing.
We wanted
her.
that.
I wanted that. That's the end goal.
Yeah.
But somewhere along the line, my little daughter became my little friend. Yeah. And because she's an only, and I'm single, and I know it could be different. It's different with people who have spouses.
Yes.
They have significant others. Yes. She was my buddy. She was my non-girlfriend. I'm not your little friend.
Yes.
But let's go eat. Are you hungry? Yeah. Are you hungry? Let's go eat. Yes. So I never had to worry about if I want to go to the library, I said, come on, let's go to the library. Mm-hmm. If I want to go to a concert in the park, I said, let's go to a concert in the park. And let me stop right here and say, Keturah, you dated. I dated. Yeah. So I don't want this to seem like it was my whole life was wrapped around my kid. Yeah. That was not the case. I dated. She dated. We had fun with our significant others, but there was still a closeness and togetherness as being moms with that only child, and them being your little friend, but you're not their little friend.
Yes, definitely. No,
and
you're right.
I was surprised that I was so lonely. Yeah. It went from, my door was fairly quiet, so it was a quiet house. Yes. And the house got even quieter. It was like there was nothing moving. There was nowhere to go. Nope. There was no
strict schedule. I mean, because
there was no schedule.
Tuesdays and Thursdays, we know we play ball, and then we had practices, and then we had, we volunteered, and we did car washes and things like that. We went to church, and we did liturgical dancing. And then Monday came,
and there was nothing.
There was nothing. We had dropped them off at school. Mm-hmm. I could only decorate her room so much, redecorate her room so much, and there, not even the dryer. We washed clothes so many times because we had to have the same jersey. That the dryer wasn't even going, and so
nothing was moving. There was nobody going in and out of the refrigerator. Mom, what we gonna eat? We eating it. There was nothing, and the silence in my already quiet house. Mm. And if you know me, y'all are getting to know me. I'm not quiet at all. I love to have something going on, and my child's the direct opposite. I'm an extrovert. She's an introvert. So we balanced each other out in the best of ways. I was lonely. I still had my family. I still had, at that time, significant other, but I was still lonely. I was lonely for that companionship that I had formed with my daughter, and that bond that we had formed, being together. Us being together. So that was the most surprising thing, emotion, was the loneliness. The loneliness, and then trying to figure out, okay, what do I do next? What do I do with this lonely space? And we talk about filling our time with things.
That's right. That's great.
And when we begin to fill our time with things, we can fill our time with the wrong things.
That's right.
The wrong people. The wrong places. Going places that you never would have gone before because you're looking for that love and companionship in all the wrong places, all the wrong spaces, and we just don't know what to do. But I'm encouraged, and this is why we are in the Word of God, because in Ecclesiastes 3:1 it reminds us that there is a time for everything. And when I begin to think about the time, it was time. And what do I do with the redeemed time? Because there was a time for there was a time for everything in every season under the sun. So with this new season, what am I going to do? And now we're redefining our purpose. Right. Because the purpose for so long had been surrounded in being
mother.
Had been
about mom.
Mother.
All things city.
All things city. all things Nikai.
Yeah.
All things, which means if they needed it,
stopped.
The world stopped.
That's correct.
To give it to them.
That's right.
The world stopped. That means if a game comes up, they got to go somewhere. She wasn't going by herself.
Nope.
I was going. And that also was a kind of a validation.
Oh yeah, that's good.
It's kind of, you agree?
Oh yeah, no, I agree.
It was
Neither of
validating.
us said that. Okay, I was doing something right. I was doing a good job. I was taking care of her. I was devoted. I was fulfilling my mom role. I was fulfilling, you know,
Mm-hmm.
the role of Sydney's mom. So yes,
Mm-hmm.
it was. Now I do want to add one thing. I thought about, after you read the word, Keisha, is, like, how do we feel? Not only did I feel sad, but my mind was all over the place, and not like, and with that, then they always say it's a devil's workshop, if you, because
Mm-hmm.
my mind was like, all the, what is that, all the things that were just kind of going through my head, like, is she okay, scared, and all of those things, and negative things were being stirred up, so not only did I have those feelings, but just the thought and the mind being so open to anything, all the negative things that were kind of going through your head,
about what is going on in college.
That's correct.
Oh my goodness.
That's
What
right.
is going on in
That's
college?
right. That's correct.
So here's a question, because my thing is, so here's the thing. Being Sydney's mom and being Nakaya's mom and being your child's mom came at a cost.
Mm.
And a lot of times when we're putting ourselves in positions to be parents, we don't count the cost.
Mm.
Not just financially, we don't count the cost to our dreams,
That's right,
to our plans. And if we truly believe that, he says, to everything there's a season, and we believe that God can redeem the time, and he knows the plans that he has for us, thinking about the plans that you have, what kind of plans, when you move from a sad place to a different place, what did you feel like? I've been putting off learning how to do this. I'm going to do this now. What were the dreams that, the cost of being an involved parent, the cost of being a hands-on mom, or dad, for that matter, because if you're going to be hands-on and involved, there are some things you got to give up. I realized that for me, I wasn't going to be able to go out as much as maybe I would have liked to.
Yep.
I wasn't going to be able to do happy hour.
That's right.
3 days a week.
Nope.
I wasn't going to be able to be at church every day. I wasn't going to be able to be at church every time they needed somebody to do something, even though I was probably the qualified one to do those things, because my priority was different. Maybe I wanted to be a recording artist.
I could see that.
And I can remember sitting down thinking, I don't want to gig like that. That dream became something that was no longer a priority or a dream, because I had a new priority. Mm-hmm. And everybody establishes their priorities different. So if that's what you want to do, then fine. Yeah. For me, I chose to say, I didn't want to gig on Friday nights. I wanted to go to football games with my kids. Right. I didn't want to get up and travel on Saturdays. I wanted to be able to be at games. But now that they were gone, some of those dreams that you put on the back burner, do you have one that you like to share that maybe you said, nah, I'll do it when I'll do it when Sid goes to college?
Oh, probably lots. But I'll tell you one. Just like you said, Nikisha, we dated. And in my mind and heart, I was dating for a purpose, but I knew that I could not really commit until my daughter left, because she was my priority. And in the hierarchy, God first, husband, wife, children, that would have been a challenge, because that was not her father. And so the dream of being a wife, I would say, I probably put on hold. I didn't realize that. Even though I dated and I had been engaged, but my daughter came first. And also, you want to put your spouse not on a pedestal, but the order, the God,
right,
hierarchy. So that would have been a challenge. I knew that would have been a challenge. So that's one thing.
And part of the challenge would have been because it just had been you and her for so long.
It just had been us. It had been us, you know.
And the whole goal was, I got to get her here.
That's right. That's correct.
Now, once I get her here, so that is a dream deferred, delayed, but certainly not denied.
No, certainly not
certainly not denied.
Not
And
denied. Not denied.
I want to encourage you that if you're watching and you're thinking about the empty nest and what dreams, what things have you put on hold, begin to write your dreams. Because this new season didn't happen by happenstance. You got a plan for your next. If you fail to plan, then you planned to fail. And part of what I was doing is I had not planned. So I was failing at being something other than Nakaya's mom.
Sydney's mom.
You know, failing at doing some of the things I love. Now, very busy.
Yeah. Oh.
Busy was not my thing. Busy, I had plenty to do, plenty of places to be, but in my heart and my mind, I could still be places and be lonely.
Yeah. Oh, yes, definitely. And still dating be lonely because you couldn't really put everything in it or focus because you knew, you know, like you said, I couldn't go out 3 times a week, but I had this little date, and was I thinking about all things Sydney when I was on this date?
Or wondering if the phone's going to ring.
That's right. Yes. Or you're going to get that mom text.
So here's a good thing we talk about. So Proverbs 22:6 says, start children off in the way they should go.
Ooh.
Right?
That's what it says.
When they're old, they won't depart from it, right? So you got to start them off right.
That's right.
And giving them all the tools. Starting them off right, giving them all the tools. How do you navigate worry and fear about your children's future when they are no longer visible? And let me preface this by saying there's one answer, one for sure answer, but there's no right or wrong answer to this question because everybody is different. And we're going to answer it in our way. But how do we navigate worry and fear about your children's future?
And Nikisha, that to me, that's really a tough one. It's a tough one because the answer to that question is trusting God. But I mean, often, you know, as a single mom, I was helping God. I thought I was helping God.
Girl, get in the way.
I was getting in the way. That was what
getting in the way.
Because I was saying, now God, now you know, Sydney needs this. You know, like he really needed help. So even though we know trusting God, I just try to be consistent in my prayer partners, where I couldn't figure out what to pray or I was worried or wasn't trusting God. I would, hey, my mom and Nikisha and my other prayer partners, my friends and Granny, all the women who I knew that were strong, and they'd already moved through it. You know, going to them to help because that was my village.
And you said something key, is that they had already been through it. So you surrounded yourself with the abundance of good counsel. There, I cannot say enough about that. Is on this journey, find you some people who have the like mind and like heart.
Agree.
Because you can find people that don't have a like mind and a like heart, and they will be callous to your feelings about where you are in your journey as an empty nester. Because I heard so many people say, I can't wait. I ain't going to feel none of that. You're not the person I want to talk to.
That's right.
I'm glad you didn't feel that way.
Yes.
And that's good for you.
Good for you. That's what I was thinking.
That's good for you. But that wasn't how I felt.
No.
So the abundance of counsel and getting yourself in places with people who have the same heart as you have that can help you navigate those spaces is one of the key things that I found.
Me too. And keeping me accountable.
Yeah.
Because on some days I would be crying, on some days you would be crying, on some days you say, "Hey, it's gonna be all right." And other women and like our mothers, we talk to keeping us accountable and kept, and also that spirit when you talk about it, Keisha talk about stirs up the gift and the spirit, that little something inside you that it says it's gonna be okay, and that was the Holy Spirit reminding you, God reminding you that I have her, I have you.
Perfect. Next question is, what kind of prayers are you lifting up? I know that my main prayer with her being away from me was that God would send her a village, that she would find her tribe. As a college graduate, I can remember, or just even as a college student, I can remember the moment I found my tribe. I can remember those ladies are still my friends. We don't talk as much as we did. Our lives are different. They went in different directions. But I can remember with every one of them just how I found them. And we made that divine connection. And it has connected us through the years, through marriages, through divorces, through death, through happy times, through graduation of children, births, everything. We have been connected. And that was one of the prayers that I prayed. Not just for the angels, to cover her. I've been doing that
since she was little.
Since she was forever. Forever. Yes. But my prayer was that in this place, that she would find her tribe. Those people who would keep her accountable. Those people who would protect her, who would help her, so that she wouldn't end up on a milk carton.
Oh, yeah.
Who wouldn't set her out to dry. Because although, I was talking to a coworker about this the other day, although I didn't try to shield her, because I felt like I gave her a lot of experiences, my daughter still went off to school very naive to the
green.
world.
My daughter's green.
Very naive to the world.
Oh, yeah.
And I'm sure that was God's design, not mine, because there were some things that she just didn't need to be exposed to. Yeah. There is a protection in not knowing everything and not being exposed to everything.
Agreed.
And I knew that she just really didn't have she wasn't real street savvy. She didn't grow up that way.
Nope.
And
same here.
I was praying that when she got off, like, Lord, let her find her tribe. She don't know nothing about none of that.
Yes.
When she would ask, what's my hood? Baby, you don't live in the hood. You a suburban kid. I'm from the hood. You're not from the hood. So in an effort to give them better, there was less exposure to some things that the world would expose them to, which is why it was so important to train. Why it's so important for us to train them up in the fear and admonition of God. And that just hit me, and I was thinking, man, I let that child go 5.5 hours away, and I don't know what I was sending her off to. She didn't know anybody.
Same here.
And it was just amazing that you said that it was God's timing. That everything she learned in a season where she was mature enough. Yeah. In a lot of ways. And I know she's still learning and she's still growing. And I'm still learning and I'm still growing. But that season in time where some of those things she was exposed to, she had already really made a hard decision about who she was and who she was going to be. And that gave me comfort. How do you release control? How do y'all
still working on it? Still.
How do we release control? Got our little grabby hands on God's children. How do we release control and trust God fully?
That's a tough question. And that was one of the things that I battled with was control. Just like you said, Nikisha, I probably had my hands on everything in my daughter's life. Mm-hmm. Even though I know God was the head of the household, I still had my hands on it. And to be honest, Nikisha, I just recently have, God's recently, and He probably gave it to me. I just didn't hear. He gave me how to handle it, gave me the tools. And actually He gave it through my counselor, my therapist. And yes, get you one if you don't have one. Because that God gave them that skill set to help you work through things and to be better people. So I religiously see my therapist. And one things that I battle with still, I think maybe it was my daughter's senior year, maybe the first year she graduated, was working on control. Because I would find myself, she'd call me, she texts, and I'm putting on my shoes like I'm getting ready to go. And my daughter lives in Nashville, so we worked on control and the skill set.
And for that, it's 3.5 hours away from our home base.
Yes. So one of the things that the skill set that God gave my therapist and she gave to me is deciding how to support my daughter. And we took to the 3 P's. Did she need my presence for me to drive? Did she need my prayers? Prayers should have been first, because that's the thing. That's kind of helping with the control. And then the third was, did she need my payment? Did she need my funds? And
they look rubbing hands. They rubbing hands always need your payment, okay?
Yes. So that's kind of really, Sydney's 23. Kaya's 23. It has taken a long time to be obedient and to listen to God with control, but I found it through the skill set of my therapist and to determine the 3 P's. So the first I was told.
So give us the 3 P's again.
3 P's are, and I'm going to put them in correct form, is, does Sydney need my prayers? Did she need my presence? And did she need my payment?
I love that.
And that is how I've been working with, because I'm a work in progress. God tells me all the time, ma'am, I'm going to let you keep thinking you have control over this 23-year-old and over your own life, but I have control. But I'm going to keep putting people, tools, experiences in your life so that you can continue to work through that he has the control and you have no control. And so that, that has just been a blessing to me to help my own sanity, to help my own emotions, and to help continue, because it is a work in progress. I control nothing. I think I do. So,
yeah. I love that. I love that. Releasing control, for me, has to be more than verbal, because a lot of times I say, God, that's your business, I ain't taking care of it.
And you do a great job of that. I'm still working on that. I mean, in my head.
But I'm saying I say that, but there's a measure in my heart that still wants to grab it, and not being fully surrendered. So I agree 100% that it is a work in progress to trust God fully. And through some of the things that I've gone through in life, I just can remember at times when God would ask me clearly, I could hear his voice and say, do you trust me?
Ooh.
Do you trust me? And I would have to give him a yes or no. And the honesty and the sovereignty of God is, you can tell him no.
Ooh, he already knows.
Because you can say, God, I don't.
He knows, yeah.
I believe. I trust, but help my unbelief, because God, I want to put my hands on it.
Ooh,
I want to put my hands on it so much. And I know that if I put my hands on it, I'm going to mess it up.
Yeah.
And God, I want to mess this up. I don't want to mess up this assignment, because I know that what you have is so much better than anything that I can do. And the word reminds us that if you who are evil can give your kids good gifts, then what do you think the Father is going to do? So as a parent and an empty nester, and worrying about our kids when they are, my dad would always say, when they're not in your house, when they're not close to your hand, they will be on your heart. It's being able to trust God fully. And in the seasons where you have doubts and you have fear, is to surrender it to God and be honest. Be honest and just say, I believe, but help my unbelief. I believe, but help me in the places that don't trust you. And you know what that means? In the places that don't trust him, it means we're going to have to do the work.
Oh, yeah. I remember the first time I heard you say that. Unbelief.
And I think that it's okay to be honest. It's okay to be honest with God and say, Lord, I believe, but help my unbelief. So don't be upset if you find yourself in a season or a place, because it is just a season. This is a long journey, y'all. We 6 years, 7 years? Six years, 7 years on the back end. Those girls went to college and they went through so fast. I was like, y'all sure y'all don't want to stay an extra year?
Yeah. And they are.
So,
They're still expanding.
So, releasing control to God fully is a work in progress. It is something that we have to die daily to flesh, because our flesh wants to take care of what God can get in his way. He don't need our help. Embracing new communities. Y'all, after you get off the couch, after you get done feeling lonely, after you FaceTime and Duos and Google and Duo, and after you do all of that, Mama's got to get her a new community.
Yeah. Mama's
got to find new community and new relationships, because not that the old ones don't matter anymore. They just don't. They can't stand in this new season, or they can't stand in this new season in that same way.
That's right.
Me and you run around now, but we don't run around for volleyball. We run around and do something that Nikisha and Keturah want to do.
We do.
So that is a new season, a new facet, a new level of relationship and friendship outside of just being the volleyball moms. So new community and new relationships. And Hebrews 10:24-25 says, and let us consider how we may spur one another on. How do we help each other? How do we poke each other and say, girl, what you doing today? You know, how do we encourage each other? How do we do that? How do you what are some of the things I can tell you one that I know that Miss Keturah did. So the Lord blessed me with a new job.
Yes.
I moved to a new city.
Yes.
So that's embracing new community.
That's right.
And forming new relationships. Because now I live in a new city.
That's right.
And guess what? She moved there too.
She poked me.
I poked her.
Girl, listen. New communities. I sold my house. Woman, you helped me pack.
we packed up, y'all. We sold the houses and we moved.
And actually,
we didn't move at the same time. We didn't move at the same time.
We did.
But y'all, it's okay to do that.
It is.
It is okay.
It is.
I know I was concerned all through high school. The struggles and financially and in between jobs was, my house was just to make sure my daughter had a home. Yeah. As a single mom, that was one of the things that meant the world to me. To make sure that she had a home, a place that we ran all over the city, but that we had a place that she could call home, and that, and wherever that is for you, that's the important thing, is making sure you have a home base. And I was so concerned that when I moved, I was moving out of her home. And the wisdom that God gives children out of the mouths of babes, she said, well, wherever you are, it's going to be home to me.
That's right.
She told me that. And so that helped with the decision to move and do. And I think she's only lived in our new house 4 or 5 months before she flighted on off to her new phase of life. But she reminded me that wherever I am, that's home for her. And so if I move 5 more times, she just want to make sure she got a room if she didn't ever come.
That's right.
She just want a place to lay her head. And she will. As long as I have a place, she'll have a place. But embracing new communities and relationships. What did you do that in your new community to forge new relationships? Y'all would call Keturah. She was like, oh, I found somebody to do my hair. I met him at the mall. I'm like, where did you meet these people? Where did you go? Yeah. So what you doing? Yeah. So I joined a church here. Yeah. And I have met some amazing people here at my new church. So that was a means of new community and forming new relationships, join Bible study. We don't have a small group, but I got busy doing the thing that I know and love. So what are some of the things that you have done in this new community to form new relationships, and how have they shaped your life?
Okay. Well, I grew up Catholic. I'm a Christian first. But you can always find a Catholic church anyway. Mm-hmm. And the Mass is the same. and what I'm used to and what I'm comfortable with soothes my soul. So, I mean, I immediately just, start going to the closest Catholic church. Hadn't become home to me yet. But then like Nikisha said, I'm positive Patty. So I believe in looking up. And I'll tell my girlfriends, look up. Because if you look up, you can see new people, new opportunities, a new hairstylist. So I'm always looking up, I'm looking around, and I'm like, hey, ooh, your hair is beautiful. And that's just my personality. But that's kind of where it started. First, found the Catholic Church. Having communion always made me feel close to God. And so that was one of the first things. In growing up in Catholicism, you could have communion every day or every week. So that was the first thing. And then, just like you said, just started looking up. And things that I used to enjoy, I started doing again, like skating. I just went to the skating rink. I looked up the skating rink. I grew up with
She
my
didn't take me either, y'all.
Well, because she was busy making new relationships too, and in the community, and busy. So I was never afraid to do things by myself. I just didn't want to. I did them with my daughter. I did them with other people, friends, and the funny is, our daughters are 23, but I had friends that were having kids at 40 and 43. So as I had a college graduate, a girlfriend of mine had a kindergarten graduate, so they were doing things, and I was like, oh, I don't want to do that anymore. So, so I was just doing things by myself, and I miss my girlfriends, but I said that could not keep me in the house. So I went skating. I used to do ballroom, so I found a dancing community here, but it was stepping, and so I started stepping. And I was the things that we love, decorating and shopping and traveling. I did a couple of traveling. I was going to Nashville where my daughter was for the day, having brunch, coming back home, meeting Nikisha for brunch. I visit her church to hear her beautiful voice. And so I just was putting myself out there because I didn't have a problem meeting people, and was looking forward to that. Now, there was still some loneliness. Still some. Just like Nikisha said, I sold my house, and I thought the same thing, that my daughter was not going to have a home to come. And unlike her daughter, my daughter said, you sold our house, and I was there, and all the things, and my walls, and Now, mind you, when she went to college and she got her first apartment, she took all her things with her. So she took her things. The room was empty. I had to buy a new day bed, remember? To fill the room and make it her room. But eventually, Sydney discovered that, Mom, wherever you are, I'm coming to, and you are my home. And so that's just, I just looked up. I just, I was doing all the things. They always say the things.
So how can your friendships with other women going through the same thing, how can they help you, or how did they help you?
Listening ear, praying when I didn't know what to pray, helping. I mean, you helped me pack my home. Other friends helped do different things, and they encouraged me. Because at first I was like, Nikisha, I can't pack my house. It's gonna take. My daughter, I would say, oh goodness, we had been there since 2014, 13, I guess. And it was a lot of house, so it was overwhelming, and I didn't know what to do. And I was like, I had been in this house in our community in McCalla, Alabama, and but my girlfriends encouraged me. They prayed with me. It was what you said, powerful. I think the very first time I heard you say, Lord, help my unbelief, I said, can we say that? And would we be struck down? Because I was like, we're going to be in trouble for saying that. And you was like, he already knows it. So that was one of the most powerful things. I mean, I wrote that in my phone. I still have conversations with my girlfriend in my phone, different tools in my toolbox, prayer topics. So I would just say the encouragement from my girlfriends, and then I just shared that encouragement. And just
each one teach one.
Yeah,
just paying it forward.
Yeah, just do it.
Forward and doing.
Just do it. Do it scared. I know I hear people say that. I don't want to phrase that, common phrase that, but I heard other people say do it scared. So there are a lot of things I did. Pack my house scared. I moved here scared. I went on my first date with my husband to be scared. Just all those things. So I would just say the encouragement of each other.
Okay. I love that. Just be encouraging each other, and encouragement can build and deepen your community, because as mentors, we can't be in the mindset that we can't be mentees.
That's right.
You can always learn something from somebody, and Philippians says, I can do all things through Christ who strengthens me. And the one thing that this emptiness journey has taught me is taught me the fortitude of who I am.
Mm.
Because I can still do all things. I can now be the mom. I can now walk through the seasons of empty nesting. And I can tell the parent today that you're going to make it.
Yes. Yes.
You're going to make it. It's going to be okay.
You're going to make it.
It's better on the other side.
Oh, yes.
It's better on the other side. I get to, I don't have to.
Yeah.
I get to be a friend, a mentor, a momager, a confidant, a money bag. But I get to be all those things. And I didn't always see it as I get to. I have the opportunity to. And I think the other side of what empty nesting has taught me that although the nest is empty, that what filled the nest up is now out flying.
That's good.
I always say that coin I got from my girlfriend when she would always say, we raising up baby eagles. And I didn't understand the whole analogy to the baby eagle until I began to think about the nest and how an eagle makes their nest. And if you get a time, go and study how the eagle makes the nest and how the eagle brings twigs.
Oh, yeah.
Back for the
That's
longest.
good.
To make the nest. And then the eagle lays eggs. And then the mama eagle, the daddy eagle, they sit on those eggs until they're ready.
Ooh.
Until that season of birthing has come. And then what do you have? You have little baby eaglets.
Yep. Yes, you do.
And the rest of this time is you're feeding them. The eagle's taking care of them, nurturing them, making sure that they're strong. But the thing about the baby eagle is once that mother senses in the due season, in the time, she takes that eagle up for a flight. And if it's ready,
it flies.
It flies.
But
if it's not, she'll go get it. She doesn't just leave it out there to die. And I know that is what happens to us in the natural as parents and in the spiritual, even with the emptiness. We put the little eagles out there. We've taken care of them. We built them a home, a place that they can call, that is full of love and all the things that we have to give. And we raise them so that they can go and fly. And if we drop them off and they don't fly, then we become that we pick them up, we dust them off, we nurture them, we help them get strong again, and then we take them back up. And they're time to fly. We may have to go grab them again.
Yeah.
That means if we have to go grab them again, we pick them up, dust them off, get them strong, build them up. The next time, we expect for them to fly.
That's right.
You know, and that is what God does for us.
Ooh.
He puts us in a position where we can fly. He picked us up, cleaned us off. He gave us strength and courage for the journey. And then he tells us that we can fly. But we don't fly alone. Just like our children will never fly alone.
Yeah.
We always know that we have the ever-present God who is there to guide, who is there to protect, who is there to keep, who is there to provide, who's there to be everything that we need. So be encouraged that even as you walk through this empty nest and wondering what is next, that God knows the plans that he has for you. You agree?
Yes. Oh, I agree.
That God knows the plans that he has for you.
He does.
And even as we are soaring, because I may be a mama eagle, but I got a mama eagle.
Yes.
And right now today, if I have to come back to the nest, she'd pick me up.
Oh.
Dust me off.
Mine too.
Make sure I was strong. She'd take me back up and make sure I could fly. And that is the whole goal in this parenting thing, to raise up little eagles so that they can fly. And not just fly to just be aimlessly around the world, but to fly with purpose.
That's right.
And destiny, and to show the love of Christ everywhere.
That's their purpose. I mean, that's their purpose.
And because we're raising up eagles, we have made them strong. So be encouraged, moms, dads, that your baby eagle is stronger than what you even think and what you know. That everything that you put in them is going to work together for their good. Does it mean that they're not going to have any bumps and bruises? Forget about it. They're going to have bumps. They're going to have bruises. They're going to learn. They're going to grow. And they may need to come back to the nest. But if they do, you're going to pick them up. You're going to dust them off. You're going to make sure they're strong. And you're going to take them up. And you're going to watch them fly. So I encourage you. I'm going to let our co-host for today, Miss Keturah Nolan, when we talk about the what's next, I am so excited for what God has done.
Thank you
for what He has done in your perseverance to seek Him, to know Him, and to move from faith to faith and from glory to glory in this story of empty nesting and what is next. Yes. So, what's next for the future Mrs. Harvey? What is next for the future? We don't know who yet. Or what's just next in your future?
Yeah.
God has given us so many gifts.
Yes.
So many things to do in the earth. And I'm going to cut that out, so don't worry about that. But to do and be in the earth as we are becoming. And we have to be careful that we don't stay in the emotions of sadness and loneliness and unbelief and fear that will stagnate us because the nest is empty. We've got to look forward to the what's next in the seasons of life, because if there's a season for birthing and rearing, then there has to be a season on the other end. What does your season say? Is your season full of dreams? Is your season full of plans? Is your season full of travel, writing a book, doing the podcast? You know, what does your season look like? What does this next season of life look like for you? I encourage you to plan. I encourage you to find mentorship in people who have the same heart, people who wanted the same things, people who are moving in the same way. I encourage you to find a new community, to find a community of like-minded people, whether it be moms, dads, friends, church, community. Find your new tribe. Find who you are outside of being the mom, being the dad, and be all that you can be to the glory of God. Yes. So, my name is Nikisha K, and our co-host for today is
Keturah Nolan.
And we encourage you to stir up the gift.
Yes. Stir it up.